Okay, I'm going to test things out and see if this is actually working. I think I'm figuring this out. I'm not too bright sometimes when it comes to technology. I say it's my generation, but that's not really fair. I think if we had lived with it our entire lives, we would be okay. But it's kind of scares us a little bit. Okay, I gotta switch users here. Change to this guy. And let's look for something new here. Live. Okay, let's see if that's... Okay, that was my failed attempt. Sorry if you guys are trying to look at that. You done give up on me. Wait, he doesn't know what he's doing. Okay, I'm just going to work on this for a little bit. If you want to join me, that's great. If not, you can catch this later. I'll leave it up for you guys to check out. I'm just going to add some details and just kind of get lost in my own brain as I add to these stones some of the detail. I'm going to turn this up. Got any sound? Okay, looks like everything's cool. Fabulous. Set this guy up here so I can see what's happening. Make sure everything's all right. And I want to pull this down here. I guess I don't need that. I can just do this, I suppose. Sorry, I'm still getting set up, if you guys are wondering what's happening. Okay, now I can really do what I need to do here, and that's pencil in some of these stones. I should have some music or something on in the background so you guys have something to listen to, but I can't put any music because it's all copyrighted and people lose their freaking minds. Heaven forbid we should be able to actually use music for what it's for and enjoying our lives without having to be concerned if somebody has enough money to pay the electric bill on their huge mansion. You know, I'm just trying to sweeten up my life a little bit with some music. I'm sorry if it takes the food out of the mouth of your many servants. I feel bad for them. So I'm not going to do that. I get it. It sure would be nice, though, if I could play some music and people not lose their minds. And by people, I mean the algorithms, the computers that will shut down the feed if they hear something in there that's copyrightable. They might not shut down the feed, but I'm going to have a hard time up. I don't want any copyright strikes against me. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm sure you can appreciate that. It's hard enough doing anything on YouTube. Sometimes the platform could be pretty unreliable in terms of what you can count on today may not be the environment next year. There might be some fundamental change, like, I don't know, restricting certain content for younger viewers. I get that. If you guys have been following the YouTube news, you know about them age restricting content. It was kind of inequitably applied. Some groups who feel like it wasn't fair that it was applied to them have complained, and I agree that there's just no fair way to apply this mechanical thing. There has to be real people involved, and that's impractical. So the best thing to do is just to leave it up to parents, which ultimately that's the best thing to do. I mean, isn't it so much better to parent, like hands-on parenting, rather than let an algorithm do that for you? I mean, I think robots and computers will at some point eventually raise our children for us, but it's too soon. We need to kind of like ease into that. It may not even be a good thing when it happens, but I feel like it's on its way to happening. So that's in the YouTube news. A lot of people are up in arms about it. The best thing you can do is just to make sure the people that you're not restricted. If you want to follow people that, even if you don't think that they have material that's restrictable, still, but just don't restrict things if you want to follow. And if you have kids who are teenagers and you don't want them to follow that stuff, then I would suggest that you take away their electronic devices and lock them down away from anybody who has an electronic device, like their friends or whatever. You're just not going to get away from it, is the point of that statement. Best to just give them the tools to be critical of what they're exposed to and not be too damaged by it. I'm so afraid, be so afraid to have kids nowadays. I don't know how I could, it's just so scary. How do you give them the tools that they need without risking they get in trouble with those? That's always been a problem. Doesn't matter if it's now or 200 years ago, it's always been a problem. You'd think we would have solved it by now. So if you're just joining me, I'm doing this sketch. It's called, I've called it a number of things: countryside, old country. It's inspired by an image of an English countryside with a cobblestone wall and a big majestic tree alongside it. And then I put those things in southern Missouri, I guess. I just feel like this is Missouri-ish, with the kind of the small rolling hills, worn down foothills. So what was I doing? Oh, getting into this rock, really nice. That's why I sharpen my pencil as I go back in this. I need to have a sharper edge to try and sell the scale. So I hope you enjoy this live feed. I've been having such a hard time getting them to work, and I think I've figured it out. And I apologize if you click on a video and there's nothing there, or it's just me picking my nose or whatever, because I don't know what's going on. As I apologize for that, but hopefully I can, when I get done here, I'll take all those down and it'll be okay. So I hope you're catching this live. You haven't given up on me. I don't blame you if you have. There's so many other artists on YouTube that have their stuff together. You're certainly encouraged to go and spend your precious time with them, and I definitely get it. But if you've stuck around with me, I love you for it. It shows me we're in it together, through thick and thin. And that's kind of friends I want around me. So thanks. And if I'm talking to myself, it still applies. So I feel like the wall's kind of falling out a little bit. As it goes back, it's getting kind of more triangular looking. I have to be sure to stay on the camera. I'm not quite sure what to do about it. I may have to experiment. I think I might have to experiment. So here's how I do that. I'm thinking if I maybe work an edge more, if I put more of this side, more emphasis of this curvature and less of this, I think it's going to show that the angle's kind of moved around. So I'm operating under that premise, in case you're still watching or care. I appreciate it. And hopefully if you know all about this, then hopefully it's entertaining. It may be mildly disappointing. And if you don't know about it, hopefully you're learning something and I'm not sending you down the wrong path. I was talking about this with another artist on YouTube in the discussion about how sometimes it's nice to have artists who can draw and they're not academically perfect. You know, they're still, they make mistakes. The mark that we miss for perfection ultimately becomes our style. And some artists are satisfied with settling into that. It works for them. And really you have no choice if you can't mechanically or conceptually do it. Then you just have to settle for whatever you can do. And it's nice to have examples of artists who represent that philosophy for artists who are trying to develop their style. And they can see examples of artists who have succeeded, who are successful in an expression, even though it may be academically wrong. Like they do things that you just don't do, like putting cheese on sea bass. You just don't do it. Don't ask why, you just don't do it. Don't question it. It just doesn't work. Trust me. You want to find out, do it. But artists always try to question and challenge themselves and concepts and rules and viewers, and so you explore all that. It's fair to have great artists that do it perfect. Follow those if you want to find out how to do it perfectly. If you just want to slip into a style and not be discouraged beyond reason, like I am when I watch Peter Draws do these doodles that blow my mind, it almost makes me want to give up doodling forever and just be satisfied to watch his. Like, I don't need to do doodles. I've got Peter Draws. So, yeah, I try to be encouraged by artists. So I'm definitely encouraged by Peter Draws. He just does what he does. And it is what it is. So I'm going to put some dark lines in here, some cracks, to kind of give a vertical indication that this wall isn't slumped, that it actually, in fact, kind of goes down instead of at an angle like that. You can do that by darkening in some of these cracks here. You know, the ground's going to settle. These rocks weigh a lot, and they're connected pretty well. But water's going to get in there, and it's going to make its way, path of least resistance, and that's where that wall will separate. So you get these big cracks that will go from like the top to the bottom, and they usually follow where water goes. And I don't know if I'm the only person who does this. Maybe I am. If I see a stone wall or something, or even an old brick wall, I'm studying it. I'm looking at it. I'm trying to understand how it's staying there, what has led to its present state of dilapidation or decay or whatever, and how to incorporate that understanding into what I'm composing freestyle, because I don't go by a picture. It's all in my head, and it's usually not even composed in my head. It's like I have like the word tree and the word wall and the word barn, and then I have formulas to make all of those, and I do those and it comes out. I'm as surprised as you are at the end result. I just basically have these rules that I follow. That's how I operate as an artist. So I don't really look at myself as like a real classically trained artist in that way, because I approach art from a completely different way. I think it shows up in my style. So I hope you're enjoying this so far. I'm into it for about 15 minutes, give or take. Take away all of the trying to get set up at the beginning. When I set out, when I got up and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a live stream now. It's time to do my live stream. That was about 30 minutes before I was actually able to go live. That's how long it took to get everything going. So I'm going to have to remember that next time. Give myself some time. I'll probably get better as I learn what I'm doing. remember all the steps. But for now, it takes me a little bit of effort. So I've been doing most of my drawing on Facebook, my live feeds on Facebook. So if you enjoy this, go ahead and click the Facebook link that's on my channel banner, and it'll take you to, and you can friend request or just follow, or a lot of my stuff is viewable to the public, so you don't even have to say you're there. You can be like a ghost, check things out, 1 hour photo me, and then be done with it. Or follow me. I have lots of fans. I follow them. So people friend request me on Facebook, it's likely I'll follow you too, because I'm just like that. People fascinate me. So if you're a person oh, sorry, just playing with that in my mind. I do that. Alright. I kind of like how this is going. And since I've been doing Mr. Ed Draws, I'm a sculptor. That's what I do. If I draw, it's to help me sculpt. And I used to draw when I was younger, and I did a lot of it. And it helped me kind of gain the skills that I have. But it's actually been quite a while since I've drawn this much. Probably 20 years, 25 years. So it's really nice to get back into it and learn. Try to rediscover the things that I'm doing wrong. And not do those. Or at least just try to take advantage of those tendencies. So I hope you guys appreciate it. I hope you guys learn along too, because when I watch other artists, that's what I'm doing. So I'm learning. And I enjoy watching them learn too. I'm frankly surprised by some people, because when you see their work, it has so much confidence just to look at it. It's like, man, this is an artist who has to have a lot of confidence. And then when you hear them describe the process, they're not at all confident. In fact, they're scared to death. It's intuitive, but there is a lot of experience and skill involved that they're basing this as kind of an educated guess. And it works out. They do the magic. And I'm astonished by that, because you couldn't tell by the work that they just basically kind of fell through it, They didn't approach it with a very clinical aesthetic that they weren't, it came across finally that it was very methodic and academic and just well planned and well thought out and well executed. And then when you watch them and listen to them do that, you're like, no, that's on the verge of being a train wreck. But they did it. It makes you feel great. It's like the football team that fights hard but barely makes it, and then at the end they do the winning touchdown. And it means so much more than if they just stomp the crap out of the team the entire time. I don't know if people get that. Okay. Now how am I going to do that? I was talking earlier in one of my live feeds on Facebook how much I hate to shade. I think it's because it's so hard. I need my test piece. Let's see what angle I can go at. Or at least get an angle cut into this pencil that I can work with. I don't want to use the graphite. I couldn't use it if I wanted to. I can't find it. I just want to shade all of it to begin with, and then I want to go in and put in the shadow, because it's on the far side of where the light's coming, I think. Maybe. It's at an angle, so certainly. I think that's going to work too, because when I put the ink in and take up all those cracks, because where I put in all the pencil and it looks cool, I'm going to go in with the really fine line ink and really define all of that. So I don't think it's going to be as noticeable, this shade of shading that's going through it. I go back, I'm just going to vary it. See, I leave a little bit of some lines in there. If I go over it again, I'm going to get that effect close up. And then I'm going to pencil in some texture and curves to these stones. I want them to look kind of rounded. I can do that by hitting, of course if you're an artist you know this, but just kind of hitting the edge with a little bit of shade. You know, just be kind of nice and thoughtful about it. Take my time, make sure those strokes line up and they're not really visible. I want it to look like maybe cracks or where it's worn. I don't want it to look like pencil marks. And I want to really clearly define with this pencil what is what. So when I go in with the pen, there's not going to be any mistakes. It's the part where I was drawing scales on this other picture that I'm doing, and I was holding my breath half the time to get these scales to, because every time I would breathe it would throw off my pencil. And my pulse was kind of throwing things off. I mean, not that it was that forceful, but I was just trying to be that precise with my hand, and I'm not of the age where I'm not a spring chicken anymore. Things kind of rattle around a little bit, and I can't hold things as steady as I used to, for as long as I used to be able to. Like right now, no longer than I've been sketching, my hand already starting to fatigue. It sucks. I've talked about it before. It's one of my greatest fears as an artist, is not being able to draw. When I was a kid, I'm like, what would I do if I wasn't able to draw? If I lost my hand in an accident or whatever? You know, my response to that was, I took up sculpting. I would mash clay with my face if that's all I had. Smush things around with my tongue and teeth and sculpt that way if that's all I had. That's how much of an artist I am. It doesn't matter. I'll make art out of just about anything. Which, you know, makes me cry whenever we get these budget cuts and local cuts and local turn downs of funding levies for education and different programs. It just makes me want to cry. It really, really does, because there are kids out there that's them. That's their life. That's where they live in their brain. That's the only way you're going to reach them. And if you take that out of education, they get marginalized, and then they really don't have a chance. And we've wasted an opportunity to get something really meaningful and valuable out of a member of society, and we just treat it like it's not worth it. I mean, you couldn't see an atom, you couldn't see DNA when they were first discovered. It took artists to visualize what, and sometimes scientists themselves are artists because they have to describe things, illustrations of concepts, and they use art to do that. So it's not fair to really take these programs away on the basis that we don't get as much out of them as a society. It's like, no, that's just as valuable as science and any other academic. Math, biology, art, humanities, it all needs to be in there. We need ethics. We need some sense of morality that comes from a place we can all agree upon, and you're not going to get that with just chemistry. It takes the humanities, it takes art. So please, do as much as you can to fund that, and I'm doing as much as I can, because my episodes of Mr. Ed Draws have an average production cost of about $300, and I absorb that cost because I have the expertise to execute each episode. It still costs me, you know. It's still time, it's effort, it's expertise, and I place that at about $300, and that's all on me. That's my time, that's my effort that I put into these. And of course I get a lot of satisfaction because it's art and I get to do art for you all, but at the same time I do this so that I can share, so that I can make up a little bit of the difference of these funding cuts, and that students of art may not have access to what they need to have access to. So I want to give something back, and this is my way of doing it. And so I'll climb down off my soapbox now, but I am really passionate about art and art education. I went to small schools. I got shortchanged. I had to teach myself art, and I really wish that there would have been a well-paid art educator there that could have given me the attention I feel like I could have made good use of at that age. And thank goodness I was encouraged by my family, because if I had depended on school to encourage my skill in that, it probably wouldn't have happened. I mean, I did get some encouragement, but it was always second to everything else. Should read more books, should do more science, do more math, do more computers. And I did those things. It was always second to art, though. So I've been going at this for a while, and I like how that wall is coming along. I think I need to take up this stuff in the beginning of this wall, since it's closer to the viewer. I'm doing that really fast, but they're already there. The pieces are there already. I'm terrified of hitting this with a pen. I really am. But I think I'm ready to do it. So hold your breath. I'm going to go through this wall with this pen. If it doesn't turn disastrous right off the bat, if it looks like it's going to work, I'm going to do it. And I'll finish that up, and that'll be the end of this live feed. And so I hope if you want to join that you're able to join me. Kind of like how that's working. Is it on film? Okay, film. I'm so old school. Film at 11. I remember those days. They had to go from the scene and get the video to the developer, and then the developer would develop the tape, and then it'd be spliced together into a video that they could eventually show 11 o'clock at night, and whatever it was happened at noon. Now it's just like instantaneous. I don't even think half the reporters go out with a camera crew or anything. They just have their phone. They turn the video. They just FaceTime the whatever it is. It's kind of lost a level of sophistication. That's okay. You know, it happens. Books used to be a really big deal. They were guarded. They were coveted. Now we throw them in the trash. So I feel like the same thing's happening to the media. It was guarded and coveted, and now it's just kind of going into the trash. And I say trash like it's kind of a ubiquitous thing for people to have access to certifiable information. Your phone's kind of hard to dispute. When you and 15 other people videotape something, it's just really kind of hard to take down, you know? I kind of love that. That's the future I saw. I saw it a little bit different. A little bit more stable, but I don't know how I could have reasonably expected that. We all have superpowers with phones. We're all superheroes now. We're supervillains. Oh, my arm is getting so sore trying to control these circles, but I love how this pen, the ink on this pen is beautiful. It's gray. It almost looks like graphite itself. And this is like a 50-cent pen. I did not pay hardly any money for it. I got it at the Dollar Tree, like the pound store if you're from the UK. And the two of them in a pack. And I love them. I love this pen. It's as good as any gray fine liner that I've had that was expensive, like a dollar or two or three a pen. It's as good as any one of those. And I've had it for a while, so it's got a pretty good amount of ink in it, or at least it limits the way that the ink goes. I haven't tried it on any like wet medium paper, something that could maybe wick into but not bleed. It's just cardstock that I've been using. Art safe. Oh, thanks for joining me, Kitslam Art. I didn't see you there. I really appreciate you joining me, and thanks for the compliment. I hope you get to check it out later. That means a lot to me. When I watch artists, when I go to their live, I love live feeds. I think it's just great. I mean, from the viewer's side, and getting to talk to artists. And I just wish I could pay more attention to the discussion and less to the art and just rambling about whatever thing pops in my head. I think I'd probably do a little bit better production, but I've been practicing. It's just, I'm not used to it. Certainly not used to the vulnerability, the sense of vulnerability. But people are like that nowadays. It's not like when I was a kid. I'm sorry, I get to mumbling off, trailing off. You got to spike the volume, and then I raise my voice again just to blow your eardrums out. Sorry. It's unintentional. So this is a really fun exercise as far as a doodle goes. So anyone can draw imperfect circles, right? And you can put those together into a form, and you can make them of random sizes. So this should be one of the easiest things ever. And it actually is. When I chose a long cobblestone wall, I was like, that would just be easy. I mean, it's easy in terms of executing its structure convincingly, but it's challenging in terms of having the patience to go through and line all of these out to make sure that your sizes are consistent, and then shading it all and going over it again in ink, which I'm not going to do it all in ink because I don't have a fine enough liner. So if I can find my green pencil, I'm not sure where it is. So that's really coming up. You can definitely tell the difference if you go back and look at the beginning of the video, how this looks and how it looks now. Once I apply this to this tree and these leaves and those limbs, it's just going to blow everyone's mind, and I cannot wait. So it's probably going to be a few more hours of work on this. So far, I think I'm into it for about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours now. So I'm excited to see how it goes, and I hope you are too. And I hope you will join me for that next time. If you're still in the feed, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you're watching this later, be sure to, if you like it, give me a like. Think about giving me a like. Think about subscribing and hitting that notification. And I upload a couple times a week. So until next time, I love you guys. I really do, from the bottom of my heart. And I'll hopefully see you again very soon. Bye-bye.